being authentic is the best way to get people to know, like, and trust you when you write your book. Because after all, isn't that the whole purpose of the book? To get people to know, like, and trust you so they see you as the leader who can take them from mess to success. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can be more authentic and show your true personality to write your book, and also how to overcome any kind of writer's block or any kind of head trash that is stopping you from writing your book. Hi, I'm Dan Janal. I'm a book coach, developmental editor, and ghostwriter. And no matter where you are in the writing process, I can help you write and finish your book. Now, let's get started. Our guest today is Rusti Lehay. She's a writing coach and empathic editor. And I want to start with that. What is an empathic editor?
Oh, well, I think we all know that we need to have empathy when someone is in pain. But empathic for me as an editor is that I work with clients where I am connected and feeling almost as passionate about their material and their content as they are. And then when we have that connection and that flow in the collaborative editing where we're editing and working together on their content at the same time, not me going away and writing on it and then, them waiting, that I can then get into their zone and leave myself behind and really strike that balance is what they want to say in the page. Because Dan, as you know, getting rid of that head trash, love that saying you just had, head trash, that we sometimes can't get down on the page what we so badly want to do there. But if we can tell our story to someone who can listen, like you or me, we can get it down for them by feeling our way into what they want.
Great. Marvelous answer. I think that's really important for anyone who's looking to hire a book coach or developmental editor or a ghostwriter, that person really understands you, understands where you're coming from, and has some passion and interest in your actual topic. Because yeah, there are people out there who will take on any project for any reason, for any amount of money, because that's what they do. But you want someone to really support you because they get you. So I think that's really, really important. So a lot of people have trouble with authenticity, or they have questions. How can I be authentic? If I'm working with a ghostwriter, how can I be authentic in my writing? How can they get me? What tips do you have for people there?
Well, authenticity is there's this one writer I was working with that I almost fired. Have you ever had that happen, Dan? Where they
Oh,
they
yeah.
where they weren't able to for their own, and it probably was head trash. I'm gonna have to quote you a lot, Dan, on that.
I
It
did not
might have
invent the
been some
term.
of
That's
that.
okay. It's out there.
Yeah, it might have been some of that was going on, but she just couldn't allow herself to be real on the page. And there was some fear. And so when I said, I think we're done today, and I may need to find you another editor if you want to continue. And she said, no, 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 I want to work with you. And I said, then I need you to be honest on the page because the reader knows if you're holding back. And so sometimes we are resistant or struggle to be honest on the page because maybe we're writing some things that are truthful for us, but they might be harmful to somebody else. So there's slander or libel. And there are ways around that to still be truthful on the page, but to mask the other person's identity by doing some composite characters. But being authentic on the page really means that we have to show up and we have to be willing or ready. Sometimes we're not ready to tell our story. I don't think I could have written my book before my mother died. And at this point, I'm still a little bit concerned about my eldest sister, but I'm going to let her pre-read it. It's going to be out in February 2024 and see if there's anything in there that makes her cringe out of respect for her. Those are some of the top reasons I think that it's difficult to be authentic on the page. The other thing is you can go and ask the people and say, I'm writing this. And I know, like for siblings, oh, I've worked with some siblings and or authors who've had siblings. And one, the youngest child of 8 in a Dutch family after the war, had a very different childhood than her other siblings, who then lived through the rationing and the war and the bomb shelters. And it was so drastically different. The other siblings didn't realize that or couldn't get themselves empathically into their younger sister's experience, that she had such a different growing up and childhood with their parents that were relaxed, that weren't afraid, that were able to work, that were able to, bring home the food and not have to, cut any child short. So it's very different for people sometimes. And that honesty comes from the heart. And when we're ready to write our book, I think it comes easier. There might be times you might need to put your book on hold for a while. My thoughts.
Very interesting. I'm wondering if we can just back up again to that person who couldn't be authentic. What drills did you do, or what did you say to her that helped her get her over the hump? And I realize that everyone is different, and what works for one person may not work for other people, but I'm just curious how you worked with that person.
Yeah. I read back to her words, and I said, and you've told me, and I've signed the NDA, so I'm not going anywhere else to tell this. It's your decision. You know what you're leaving off the page, and this part, and this part, and this part, and this part that you've left off the page. That's what made me want to work with you. That's what made my heart catch up in my throat. That is what is going to make your reader go, oh, this woman knows what she's talking about. This woman has the keys to how I move from pain to paradise when we're real on the page. And so I said, you have a choice. You can risk and you can put it on the page. You can go and have a chat with your daughter first about what happened that she is not yet aware of. You can write it under a pseudonym and never tell your daughter that you wrote a book. You have some choices, or you can wait and have a conversation with your daughter when it feels like a fit. She decided to go with a pseudonym, so that was her choice.
Very interesting. I'm glad I asked a follow-up question, because I'm sure the people writing memoirs have very similar situations. I don't write memoirs like that because they're too painful for the people, and I'm not a therapist. And there are other people who relish in writing those and reading those and working with authors who do that. I do not have that skill set, which is good to know.
I am an NLP practitioner. I am a timeline therapist, certified timeline therapist, a somatic coach, Ricky, but the neurolinguistics practitioner and the timeline therapy are so valuable because we can go back and change our brain wiring and create different experiences and then not be able to get those uncomfortable or painful feelings back. It's an amazing stuff, the neuroplasticity of our brains. So I love it. So
very cool. Let's go a little bit deeper there. I love NLP stuff. And let's talk about NLP and writer's block and how you can rewire people's experiences. So I'm sure everyone has had that same experience with their fifth grade teacher turning in the essay and getting a paperback with lots of red ink on it and saying, I'm not a writer, I'll never be a writer. And that screws them up for the rest of their lives. Fortunately, it never happened to me. But I hear that a lot. Which is why other people have writer's block and I don't. So tell me about a situation where you worked with someone who had writer's block and used NLP or a technique like that to help them get over that.
So first of all, I can find out which way they're going to look with their eyes or turn their head for their past, their present, and their future. And then I can ask them, when did they first have that feeling or that negativity towards what they wanted to do, or that thing that stopped them in their goal, whether it's writing or something else. And then I say, okay, so go and look back on your timeline, see that moment. And then let me give you an exact example here, is that when I was in grade 9, let's use my own example. When I was in grade 9, the vice principal sat me down and said, we don't think you should do the science route. We think you should do the secretarial route. And as a young adult or children, we make meanings out of what adults, especially adults in authority, tell us. The meaning I made from that was that I was dumb. And so I still fought them. I was resilient and I did the sciences anyway. Vice principal then didn't help me in chemistry at all, and said that I was wasting my time and money. So after 11 and a half years at the same school, I went to a different school, and the chemistry teacher there helped me get a higher mark than what I did in Chem 10 and Chem 20 with that vice principal. So, but that didn't solve the thing in my head until I went back to university as a mature adult, single parent. And I had the worst waitressing night of my life. And the next day I'm in the counselor's office crying. I'm total mess. Like, she talks me out of my tree. And at that point, at that institution, it was on a 9 system. So she says, any fives, which is just over passing. I went, no. I was kind of offended. Any sixes? One, but I don't really like the professor. Any sevens? Uh-huh. Eights? Yeah. Any nines? I'm smart. What would happen if I did the work? And so she took me in a little bit of a different route, but she took me into the reality and showed me the reality that was very different than the trigger, because triggers are there and it's our job to remove them. But with somebody skilled, we can help you go find where the trigger is, the root cause. And that's what NLP is great about, finding is the root cause and then going and rewiring, changing that root cause into something like putting somebody else in that position. So for me, and the example is that I took this amazing woman that I know from my adult life in the last 10 years, and she is a fighter, and she might not win every argument she goes to, but you'll damn well know she's been there. I took her back with me in that memory to, on my timeline, back to when I was 15. And she told that vice principal and principal off. She just like said, that's it. I'm taking her out of this school. You guys don't know anything. And so redid that and redid that scene totally. And so that's kind of what the school life counselor did at the college that's now university, and made me see all the things that I'm capable of now, and thought, wait a minute, what would happen if I did the work? And so then she also then helped me establish some really good studying routines and things with some belief in me. And I ended up being on the dean's list, both at New Mexico State University Creative Writing Women's Studies and at the University of Alberta, where I graduated with distinction on the dean's list 3 years later. So it's a matter of going and finding that root cause and then bringing them forward after you give them a different experience.
Great. Thanks for wrapping that up, and congratulations. Because I was going to ask, our listeners, what can they take from this? And it's going back into the timeline and finding the root cause. And then what would they do there? They combat the demon?
And yeah, exactly. You can take somebody that you know, like, and trust. You can take somebody that is your champion, your advocate. You can create a different scenario there and really experience it. And then as an NLP coach, you ask them, are you complete? You come back, and then you actually do a proofing to see whether that feeling is gone. And then you can take them into the future to see what the future looks like now that that trigger is gone. So there's some really integral parts. Yeah.
Fascinating. Rusti, tell us, who is your ideal client and how can they get in touch with you?
My ideal client is those people that just like, I want to write, but I don't know if I can. I think I would be saddest if I had to lose that client, because I think it all goes back to that teacher and vice principal and principal not believing in me, because I know that we all have a story to tell. And I am here to help people tell their stories when they just need somebody else to believe in them because they don't have enough confidence themselves. And they can find me with my name. That's Rusti, not a Y. It's a name, not a condition, Lehay.info. And that's my website. I'm on all social media and Twitter and LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm out there.
Cool. Thank you for sharing great information, and thanks everyone for listening. We have more than 200 episodes of Write Your Book in a Flash with Dan Janal on YouTube. So check them out so you can write your book in a flash.